is the fuselage together with all the formers and things, and I have made a couple of changes to the model that I will show you now. The most obvious change, of course, is the tow hook. This I have glued here to the side of the F8 former, and I've fitted this plastic. There's a plastic tubing here with a wire in it to operate the tow hook. Also, I've put a servo tray here. This one is marked E8, and it's supposed to be for the elevator when you're making a motorized version. But since we're not, we can use this for the release hook, the tow hook. Now, the next step, of course, is to take this piece of balsa wood that I have hollowed out to fit over the tow hook and glue it on like this. The next thing we have to do is see to it that this part here on the top is straight, and then glue this piece of balsa here down with the grain running at right angles to the fuselage. That way it becomes much stronger than if we did it like this. I have now sanded this balsa here, sanded it flush with the side, and it is ready. I have also made a hole here, exactly where the hole is underneath the tail fin, and the fin fits on there. Now I am going to fit this outer sleeve of the steering thingy. I'm going to fit it inside the fuse through the hole here in this former F3, and I'm going to glue this in. instructions say that you should glue in this outer sleeve using epoxy, but this is enough. Now the next step is to put balsa on the bottom. Close the bottom off. The next step would be to round off these edges and make it streamlined. There isn't going to be a lot of rounding at the top, but the bottom will be sort of very streamlined and nice. But the instructions tell us to do something else. There they say it's time to take these parts here, glue them together to make up the canopy. These have to be glued together like this, and then into this to form the canopy of the model. In order not to glue these into the fuselage, which would be a huge no-no, I'm going to take some clear tape like this and put it down here where the gluing takes place, and see to it that this doesn't get stuck to the fuse. Here is the canopy frame in its place, and it's clearly stuck well and truly to the tape, and of course this little dowel is also holding it. So in order not to get these out of alignment, I'm going to glue this little balsa offcut here to hold them while I get this into this and get it glued. This is now snuggling down into the canopy itself, but it's not going as well as it should because of this here, this part here, this bottom or whatever, these edges. That I'll have to cut them off to get this to sit nice and straight and get glued. And I'm also going to have to put some clamps on while the glue dries. Now I've cut the outer perimeter off, and I'm going to slide this in and glue it stuck. Now I've used a white marker like this to mark where there are indications on the outside of where you should cut. So I can put this now in and sort of place it about the place where it should be. Now the glue I'm going to use is this Formula 560 Canopy glue. It's the best glue for plastic and wood together. while this is drying, we can take the fuselage and sand it and make it smooth and rounded where that is needed. Let's begin by the top here. It doesn't need a lot of rounding, just make it smooth, and the wing of course comes here, so a lot of rounding here wouldn't do anything for it. And back here we have the tail fin, and rounding here is just not possible. So a light rounding for it is good. To begin with, we take a sanding block like this and just sand the sides so that the sides and the top are level, nothing sticking out. Also, to sand a little rounding on it, we just take a piece of sandpaper like this and use that rather than the big sanding block. The bottom of the fuselage, however, needs fairly extensive rounding. We do have to take care here at the back because we don't want to take too much off, but around here in the middle of it, where it's fattest, we want to take a huge amount of rounding, and the plans show that the rounding actually extends about 1 centimeter or 10 millimeters into the fuse. So the best way to do that is to draw a line, not a whole centimeter, well, we can do 1 centimeter, but about half of that, 4 or 5. So if we do that, we can then plane down with a balsa plane to that line, a 45-degree bevel, and use that to round. Now I've marked both 5 and 10 millimeters down on the fuse, and now I can just use my finger as a template and mark these lines like this. Now I know how far I can go. We have to do that on the side as well. Of course, we're not going to go all the way down to the line, or both at the front and the back, especially not at the back. This is, of course, where we have to show some discretion and ease the rounding off here at the back. but it's very good to have lines like these to look for. Now we use our balsa plane to make a 45-degree bevel. We both tilt the bevel, tilt the plane at 45 degrees here, and we turn it at 45 degrees so that it can easily cut the wood. Here we can see that we've started cutting into the triangular balsa stick that we glued down to the side, and that we glued the bottom to. And we know that now there's just about 5 millimeters left of the gluing surface there. So this is as much as we do with the balsa plane. Now we start with the sandpaper. Here in this area where you have a curve, inside curve, it's very difficult to use a sanding block like this, and we just use the sandpaper itself. The trick here is to take very little at a time, because if you've not taken enough, you can always take more. The difficult bit is to add on the things that you take that you didn't want to take, so take it easy. Here we can see the difference between the left side here, which is rounded, and the right side, which is not. Now I just have to do just about the same here on the right hand side and make the model look beautiful. Here is the fuselage, just about ready. I've finished the canopy. I've cut the plastic along the light ply inside, and unfortunately when I pushed it in, this became a little bit concave, so I've had to put some filling down here, but that's okay. The filling is, there's not that much of it, so it's not a weight penalty. But the canopy fits quite well now. So the next thing is to sand, and I'm going to use 150 grit paper and give it a light sanding, just because well, it doesn't need anything more, does it? And with that, I'm going to say that the fuselage is ready for covering.